Hello, everyone. I checked to make sure I'm not muted this time. Welcome back to our weekly game. Welcome back to the fiction game. Uh, my name's Jack. I'll be your host and narrator this week, as always. With me today are Sam playing the role of Merigold McGarlin, Miles playing the role of Keith Dwarvenforged, and Hayden playing the role of Alberth, inventor of the gun. Today's episode is very cool. It's brought to you by Betrayal at Baldur's Gate. The board game didn't sponsor the stream or anything. I'm just using my copy to put my laptop camera at a more flattering angle.
I was about to say, whoa, no way.
That's my new bit. Every week the stream is going to be brought to you by a different.
I love it. That's a good one.
I don't know why I addressed the bit out loud. Now it's not funny. Welcome back, those of you who've been following us for many weeks. Anyone who decided that this week was going to be their first exposure to it for some reason, like 60% of the way through a campaign, we're glad to have you. I'd like to start today's episode with some errata. Do you guys know what errata is? It's published corrections to a previously published work. So, like, the Encyclopedia Britannica has published errata that's like, hey, this time we published it, we defined this as this, or we phrased it wrong, or there was, like, a misspelling or something. So some quick errata, because we're throwing out a lot of content, a lot of, like, world-building details, a lot of character details, and sometimes, maybe frequently, I get things wrong. So just to clear up a couple minor details from previous streams. First, in our very first session, I said that Marquis was a higher rank than Duke. I meant that he was a higher rank than Baron. Gotta get that ancient English nobility in the right order. I repeatedly used the word baronic, but it is. I looked it up. I made a joke about, like, I think baronic is like the Baron version of royal. Like there's the baronic guard, the baronic what have you. I was wrong. It's baronial. I had to look it up. And last of all, there was a certain character who joined us at the very end of episode 2 and wasn't mentioned a single time during episode 3. I forgot to mention why Korik isn't with you. Korik, Merigold's brother, had joined you. He toppled a tree over by tackling it. It was wild. Korik wasn't, in case you were wondering, just in the background of a bunch of scenes for not being mentioned. I just forgot to mention that he parted ways with you guys and said that he would meet up with you at the Capitol. So, because he still wants to convince Merigold to come back to the family estate. So that's still happening. He didn't disappear, and he hasn't been a silent background character. Just wanted to give you a quick update as to the Korik situation. A quick recap is probably in order. We're 4 episodes in. During the first episode, our 3 players created their characters. I'm not sure if the heroes are the players or the characters. You know. But let's just get, like, a quick 1 or 2 sentence recap if you guys want to. Why don't we start with Miles? Who's Keith?
So Keith is a primal, or I guess a hunter druid. I'm just basically a hunter by nature, a blacksmith by trade, and I'm trying to find the last remnants of the dwarven race, basically, to challenge their greatest smiths in a battle to the death. I'm also dying of a plague.
Right on. Solid, well-rounded character recap. And then Merigold, as played by Sam.
Yeah, Merigold is fleeing from nobility. He has been living as a busker for quite some time now, so he plays the lute. He's also a mage and has been working on that. I think I only have a couple spells so far. But.
Yep, good recap. And Keith, as played by Alberth, the other TH one. Alberth, as played by Hayden.
Alberth is a symbiote druid who's hanging out with Keith these days. Alberth's history, I guess, is that he's a really smart guy, really nice, and invented what he calls the gun, which is essentially just a bow, it's a crossbow. But he named it the gun after his best friend, who, that was a long story. I guess you'll have to listen back to why it's called a gun, but there's a reason for it. And yeah, he's hanging out with Keith. Got roped into this adventure. Wasn't actually initially supposed to be on this adventure. Was intentionally left out, kind of, but is happy to be here. So.
And everyone else is too.
Yeah.
That's right. And also during the first episode, our heroes were rounded up by Vizier Kama, the left hand of the Queen, who's on a secret mission after the recent death of a major political figure and, in fact, an archmage. The Queen's death within the year was prophesied, and to prevent an assassination attempt that may have already happened, a poisoning that may have already happened, Vizier Kama set to the east to retrieve an exceptionally rare herb called Golden Gale. She got it, but the caravan that she is leading has been hunted by assassins, magical assassins, casters, hell-bent on destroying the caravan and its contents ever since. And so she enlisted the help of some casters who were in the area to guard them. So classic caravan guard situation, but everyone's magical. Since then, they have our heroes have stolen a writ of trade to ensure the caravan's anonymity. They have traveled far, far west, approaching Mount Deity, the center of this grand kingdom. And most recently, they entered into a small petty barony, and spoke to its leader, Baron Teef Lehan, who was very begrudging to allow them to leave at first, but once Vizier Kama was forced to tip her hand, reveal that they were a royally appointed caravan, the Baron was forced to concede and not only allow them to move on, but dedicate some of his men to the cause. But first, by royal law, or by the crown's law, he has the right to demand a boon of Vizier Kama in return. And so now the party is stuck doing some what's the best word for it? A hunt quest? the party is stuck doing some pest control. There is a there is a strange beast in the North Hills that they are supposed to hunt for this Baron before he will dedicate half of his baronial guard to them as defenders and protectors for the rest of their journey to the capital. At the beginning of last week, we found out there was a little bit of a time gap, and we covered the attacks that had happened in that time and the traveling that had happened in that time. But this week, we are jumping right back in the half of the caravan that, or more than half, but the part of the caravan that had left to discuss things with Baron Teef Lehan has just arrived back at the caravan to some pretty disturbing news that Keith Dwarvenforge has sighted a mysterious dark figure approaching the caravan in ever-tightening circles. At first he thought it may be a symptom of his degenerative illness, but it was confirmed by our hero's good friend Abulka Ashad, a literal angel, that figure is in fact no figment of Keith's imagination. It is a real threat that they have yet to identify. In response to this, there are a couple things that you guys can do. Keith is sure-eyed as any... I'm sorry, Alberth is sure-eyed as anyone, having trained many long hours using his brilliant invention, the gun. And Abulka Ashad, of course, is a very keen-sighted otherworlder. But there is one member of this party that has a unique ability to sense the presence of living beings. It is, of course, Merigold. Merigold being a mage, you have 3 wards. Most of this journey you have traveled either with the psychic ward active to prevent your mind from being manipulated by any other casters or other psychic forces, or the kinetic ward, which would stop projectiles. A very wise choice considering you are being hunted, and not completely sure whether you have left your hunters in the dust, as it were. But at hearing this, that there is a shadowy figure that's been slowly approaching the caravan, Merigold has the impetus for, or the justification for the decision to activate a different type of ward, his presence ward, the third of the magely wards. The presence ward advises the user of any living being's presence within 30 feet. It's hard to keep it on at all times because it makes you deeply aware of even things like microscopic insects that get too close to you. It's almost impossible to sleep with a presence ward active because you are just intimately aware of the creeping, crawling movements that normally we are kind of blissfully ignorant of. So its usefulness is limited in many situations, but as Merigold activates it in this situation to see if he can identify the nearby figure, see if there's a threat, see if there's any living being nearby other than the members of your party and the beasts of burden pulling your caravan, of course, Merigold notices a faint life signature. But it's not coming from over any of these shallow hills or behind a tree line. It's coming, in fact, from inside of one of the storage caravans. There's a faint thrumming. This life sense, this presence ward only shows such a faint signal, a faint sense of something, if the thing is either in a deep, deep sleep, like a hibernation kind of sleep, or on the brink of death. Merigold hasn't sensed this presence before, possibly because of its faintness. Yeah. You can act based on that and try and open up the caravan, or you can alert your fellow casters or your leader, Vizier Kama, to this potential threat, or you can keep it in your sleeve for now and see if it develops.
Yeah, I'll definitely share the information. Like I sense this presence, I'll explain it.
Can I ask Merigold and ask, like, I don't know if he would know, obviously, but does he, like, so the strength of the presence he feels is in correlation to how, like, aware they are, or is it to, like, the strength of the person that he's sensing? This kind of goes more to you, obviously the DM, to answer on his behalf, I suppose.
Yeah, I'm sorry. It's like the faintness of the signal. It has to do with their. I'm sorry. Did you say conscience or consciousness?
Yeah, like they're conscious, like whether or not they're asleep or whether or not they're just like a strong soul. Like, do mice give off smaller ones?
Oh, okay. That is an excellent question, and we can delve into the magic system a little bit here. The magic system that is the presence ward specifically. The size of the being makes it feel different, but not necessarily stronger or weaker. So the weakness of the symbol doesn't mean that it's like a rat or like a vole or something physically small. It means that the thing is either not just asleep. Asleep wouldn't change the intensity very significantly unless it was a certain kind of sleep. The kind of sleep that enormous mammals do for an entire season to stop their caloric output. It has to be... maybe even comatose is a better word. Comatose or a fading life that is near its end. Great question. But yeah, Merigold, you alert Vizier Kama, and she and Pater Ullman share a brief and dark look, and Vizier Kama tugs at your sleeve and says very quietly into your ear, that's, there's realities about our cargo that we haven't shared with you. The Golden Gale is not what it seems. But we're aware of what you're sensing, and you don't need to worry about it. This is interesting to you because you can sense plant life of a certain size. Like I mentioned that size doesn't matter earlier. That's not exactly true because you don't detect like individual bacterium. That would be crazy. Or individual bacteria. Why did I singularize it? Doesn't matter. But like plant life, you can still detect it. You can tell when it's a plant, and this doesn't seem like a plant, but Merigold is aware that there are other classifications than plant or animal. There are, especially when it comes to like druids and druid craft, there's a sort of blurring of the lines between what scholars refer to as the three kingdoms of flora, fauna, and mycia. So, doesn't smell like a plant, or doesn't sense like it's a plant, but apparently it's something about the nature of the Golden Gale that sounds like she knows what's up. But your burgeoning curiosity, the curiosity embedded in you by your powers as a mage, the desire to reveal hidden secrets, starts gnawing at you. You want to know what's in there. But it's up to you whether you act on it right now or not, because you'll be traveling with this caravan for a while now, so plenty of time to check that out later.
Yeah, I'll keep that in mind as we go forward.
Right on. I'm going to mute myself real quick, because I just noticed this on the corner of my screen right here. Yeah, a little bug. That's going to bother me the whole stream. So I'll... That's add one to the kill count. Thank you. Right on.
Live. Wow, this stream has a kill count. Holy crap!
It does now. I mean, it brings us back to our earlier conversation, doesn't it, Miles? What life form counts as a kill? I'm killing millions of bacteria and germs in my body right now. They're dying.
The minute they can fight back, I count as a kill.
I don't think that box elder bug could have fought me back, Miles, but we need to move on. He's a predator druid. He's thought about these things.
That's
I'm about to kill a pack of Oreos.
We'll fight back tonight, if you know what I mean.
All right, we're moving on.
We're moving on. And right on. Unless you guys have anything else to cover while you're at the caravan, the party sets out for the North Hills. Short only a single team member, Rez Kalen, who will be left behind to guard the horses and caravans. Right on. Sweet. It's only an hour or two's journey to the North Hills, but walking as you are on foot, you have some time to take in the area. We had mentioned last week, this is a petty barony, a sort of kind of crap hole area that was given to someone who deserved a baronial title, deserved something higher than the ranking of lord, but who the crown didn't really see fit to give some grand barony or anything that's really better than a lord's estate. So the House of Tieflehen was given this little corner pocket, essentially as a backhanded compliment, a backhanded promotion. However, that doesn't mean the place is without its beauty. Once you get far from the capital of Ernhold, this place starts to open up, and it may not be the best place for farming or orchards or collection of natural resources, but the hills, especially the further north you go, have a wild beauty of their own, recognized especially by our party's druids. Intimately familiar they are with woodscraft and the wilds and the plants and animals, the ecosystems that grow here. You recognize the sort of hardy plants and animals that you see in large dry plains that border badlands, where nothing can really afford to grow very consistently except for very dedicated desert plants that find their footing in loose sand that can work as soil at some days of the year. This area is not quite that. It's more like shrublands. It's tumbleweeds and sage and the kind of dry plants that can survive almost being a desert. And as you travel, Alberth especially begins to notice more and more, especially as you get to the woods in the North Hills, a sort of strange synergy to this place. You sense how the ecosystem works and how each plant and animal serves as food source or protection or like the up and down the food chain. You sense this place working together, and then you sense a strong presence of symbiosis somewhere here. This could mean one of, or any one of several things. There could be this place could be blessed by one of the wild folk. The wild folk are the inhabitants of the bog and mire. One of them is your patron, and one of them is Keith's patron. And they tend to the wild places of the world, of all the worlds, in fact, and occasionally visit the mortal plane to take care of it. Or it could be a Leshy. A Leshy is a guardian spirit of a wild area. And the categories that I had mentioned earlier that Merigold knows about, the scholarly categories of flora, fauna, and mycia. In case you're wondering, mycia is fungal life, like mushrooms. It deserves a different classification than flora because it doesn't work exactly the same. But the wild folk have informed you of an altogether different category, one that fills the cracks in between these other three. A Leshy is always a being that belongs to multiple of these categories, so part plant and part animal, or part animal and part fungus, or mycia. These guardian spirits are usually hostile to outside invaders, so if that's the case, you had best keep your eyes out. But you soon discover that it was your first suspicion after all. When a familiar face peeks out from behind a shady, like wooded area, noticed only by Alberth, it's a face that you recognize but haven't seen in some years. It is your wild folk patron. Gawara is it appears to be a woman from the waist up, just a short human woman, but from the waist down, she has the sort of bent legs and cloven hooves of a goat, and just above her forehead, two horns curve back and roll around. Gawara is her wild folk name, but she has always had you call her Gabby. And leaning out from this this tree line, she waves Alberth over, and in the distance you see her pale face, mouth, come alone.
Quick question.
Mm-hmm.
Are they only being shown to Alberth, or are they visible to everybody?
They're visible to everybody, but they made sure to just get Alberth's attention. However, depending on how Alberth plays this off, you might be able to detect that something's up. I can feel you wanting to jump in here, Miles, and it might happen. We'll see. Alberth, it depends on what you do. Do you tell the party that you need to tinkle, and then you run off to meet with Gabby? Do you just tell them straight up, hey, I got to do some magic shit, don't follow me, and disappear? Or do you try and sneak into the underbrush while no one's looking? Or do you just tell them exactly what's going on? I guess I should include that as an option. Quick audience recap. Every time I give a player ask a player what they want to do, I'll give them several preset options so they don't have to come up with something. And if there's an in-character option that would make a lot of sense to someone who lives in the campaign setting, but not to a player who's playing in the campaign setting, then I'll bring that up. Rant's over. Okay, what do you do?
Tinkle was my first intuition as well, so I think Alberth will say, whoop, it's time. Nature calls.
That's perfect. Now, two options. Do you want to roll for how well... In fact, you know what? We haven't rolled enough. I think we rolled maybe 0 times last 2-hour session. Make that roll in our Discord channel. just type D20, and I will narrate to our audience what... An incredible bluff from Alberth, a skillful lie. If Merigold and Keith want to figure out what's up, they can roll for it. But I do have to ask you, Hayden.
Yeah.
there's something that we've occasionally assumed about Alberth's default state that I need to know. Was Alberth already symbiotically linked to Keith?
No, he doesn't do that until he needs to go stealth mode or whatever Keith mode is.
Right on. I wanted to make sure, because if your minds were sort of Vulcan mind melded, I got to stop referencing outside content. It's at some point it's going to affect.
Okay, you've said this a couple times, but I do want to bring up that I feel like if somebody doesn't know what that is, then yeah, that's confusing. But to the people who do know, and I'm not even a Star Trek guy, but I like mind meld sounds cool. I do think it's helpful. So I feel like you should lean into it. Yeah.
Right on. Yeah. I like that I can instantly impart a package of world building that I import like a NuGet package into my C# project. Oh, half of our audience left. So what happened? I'm kidding. We don't have a live audience.
So I do want to I want to go ahead and say Keith at least. I feel like in character I had like an idea of going somewhere completely dark or like putting on blindfolds and just hanging out until somebody tells me I should be doing something else, specifically to monitor hallucinations to see if I see anything in the dark, then I'll know if it's a hallucination or not.
The idea that you're starting to experience hallucinogens, so you're like, all right, time to find what's the word I'm looking for? A sensory deprivation tank? That's the most Joe Rogan thing you've ever said to me, Miles.
I don't know if it's gonna work. I just want to try and monitor it at least.
Sounds good for another time. Right now you are hunting a giant magical beast, and that is exactly what Keith needs to be here for. So you are with the party right now. I also want to mention, Alberth and Keith have traveled together for a long time, and Merigold is excellent at finding secrets. So you will be rolling against Alberth's 19, but I'm going to say Keith, because of his very, very close relationship with Alberth, will have a +4 because it's hard to lie to the people who are close to you. And Merigold will have a +2 just because he's great at telling when something's up. Make those rolls in the Discord channel, and we'll see if either of you know what's up. Keith doesn't. Keith rolled a 9 for a total of 13, and Merigold rolled a 4 for a total of 6. So Alberth is completely unnoticed as he approaches this forest, this little glade off to the side. Gabby has discovered this nicely secluded little area and is in fact picking wild flowers when you show up, Alberth, and is placing them into a carefully woven basket made of like loose plant fiber and that kind of thing. It's been a lot of years since you spoke to Gabby. In fact, the last time you spoke, you were with a friend who was so close to you, in fact, that the bond of your friendship convinced Gabby that you were a worthy holder of the boons of a symbiotic druid. Gabby turns to you and gives you a sad smile as you think of this last memory of Gunny.
Shoot.
No, don't shoot. That's what got you into this mess.
Woof, Miles. Woof. That's just rude. But Gabby, oh my goodness. Even my notes called you Keith instead of Alberth like 3 times. I don't know why the TH became the defining characteristic of both of your names, but they have melded, just like your minds have many times. Maybe that's the real source of confusion. Just kidding. Okay. But Gabby gestures to the wildflowers and says, come along, let's... now help me pick this patch. And
as you wish.
Yeah. You guys pick wildflowers for a while, fill up her baskets, and she kind of sits cross-legged, which is a very funny thing to see a half-goat person do, because she's got the, like, haunches of a goat that are meant for, like, jumping up a mountain, but the calves are, like, much smaller, so it's a very funny thing to see cross-legged, besides which it's got that, like, weird jumping curve thing. Mammals are weird. Some mammals get pretty out there. But anyways, she gestures for you to sit down and says, "Now, Alberth, you've been one of my wild servants for a long time, and I think it's time to give you your next wild boon." A wild boon is sort of the leveling up that a druid does. There are echelons of each type of caster. But the main way that a druid receives more powers is to gain a wild boon. Alberth knows a little bit about this from having interacted with other druids, but the wild boons are themed around an evolutionary aspect that some kind of creature has actually developed. So the boons are behaviors or characteristics that have been evolved over time, and you gain access to one of these, and it informs how your body develops, because we've talked about, druids are actually physically adapt to their circumstances at a very accelerated rate, and which wild boon you pick will inform how you grow like that, and will inform your new magical abilities. You didn't know this was coming, actually, but Gabby explains that you have simply put in the work, that the bonds that you create with other people have benefited yourself and them. You're carrying out her work as a symbiotic wild folk, and she sits you down to gain a new boon. She explains that you have 3 choices, and she indicates that which 3 choices you have weren't entirely in her control. She mentions something about drawing lots and a council, but refuses to elaborate further. But anyways, she says that the 3 boons that you can choose from are the boon of hibernation. That'll help you heal a lot during sleep. It'll allow you to build up a sort of caloric surplus and then use that to heal your wounds. And because you're a symbiotic druid, you can extend this power to your companions. And even in combat, although it's obviously not exactly how hibernation works in wildlife, at least not in this world, you can use that caloric surplus to benefit your companions. So hope you packed a lot of food on this here journey. Hibernation is an excellent choice for you. The second boon is the boon of echolocation. The ability to see without lights. It's sort of sight with sound. And then she describes to Alberth what echolocation is, which I won't dive into line by line, because you are the recipient of a modern education in the 21st century America, and you probably have a better idea of what echolocation is than the average serf in medieval Europe. Not that this is technically medieval Europe, but it's similar. She says the last boon is a little harder to describe. I don't think you have chameleons on this continent. And you think, wait, isn't this the only continent? But she just barrels on ahead, and you know better than to interrupt her, because the information that she's dropping, she's doing so very deliberately. And if she wants to expound on something, then she will. She goes on, mimesis is the ability of nature to copy other nature. So if you're fighting an enemy in combat, I know you don't find yourself too often in combat, but you can copy that enemy's fighting style, or even a little bit about their appearance, mannerisms, and especially voice, in case you need to infiltrate somewhere. In case you need to impersonate someone, mimesis is the boon for you. So, you've got the boons of hibernation, echolocation, and mimesis. And a whispering voice echoes out from the distant, from the not too distant tree line. The whispering voice pierces through the sort of chill autumn air, and you hear it say, "There is another," and and Gabby gives a look like she didn't want this to happen. She kind of casts that look a little bit over her shoulder, looking back towards the tree line. She says, "Not now. Make your offer later. Mine still stands." And she turns to you and says, "You have 3 choices and you can pick one. Hibernation, echolocation, or mimesis."
Who is that? Or what?
She seems hesitant to expound upon it, and she thinks about it, looks you up and down, nods, and seeming very deliberate about it, she says, "Because of the nature of my relationship with symbiosis, I cannot come to this world alone, and so I've got a companion. He doesn't want to show his face, but he does want to offer you a boon. He can do so once our business is concluded. You have your choice."
Mimesis sounds amazing.
Very well. And she takes three acorns from this basket that you've been putting flowers into, and they all look exactly the same to you, but they must represent the choice that you've just made, because she crushes 2 in her hands and like sprinkles the acorn dust over the field, and instead of crumbling up the last one, she digs a small hole in the middle of this like wildflower patch that you've just dug up, and places the acorn in it like she's planting a tree, piles it back over, and begins tearing up the wildflowers to leave to decompose to feed the seed. And she nods. She says, "All right, Liam, go ahead and make your pitch." And the whispering voice out from the trees says, "Mine is a simpler choice. You can either choose to take the boon or leave it." And Gabby has crossed her arms and is shaking her head. She says, "What kind of choice is that? Of course he's going to take it. It's a boon." And the voice says, "Nevertheless, a choice must be given." And she rolls her eyes. She says, "You know the consequences of picking a boon, right? Your body will start to evolve according to it. It will give you some powers, but he's not telling you everything that you should know." And the whispering voice kind of hisses, but doesn't stop her as she goes on. She says, "If you accept his boon, you'd be the first to do so. Which is why he's giving you such an obvious choice, so that you'll finally take it. Basically, all of these boons are sort of crafted for your mortal world. And that's why they're crafted after behaviors that wildlife have exhibited in your mortal world. They've already sort of been tested. This boon of his is of a new design, but the behavior that you would be exhibiting isn't. I can't tell you not to take it, because honestly, it would mostly be good for you. I just question the impacts that it would have back in my world." And the voice from the trees, whom she had called Liam, says, "Enough of your whining. The boon is that of ecdysis." And Gabby looks over to the tree line like she's expecting more, and she rolls her eyes and says, "I'll explain it then, shall I? Ecdysis is the behavior of many lizards and some insects to shed their old dead skin. It represents the chaos of change. And it was sealed away long ago because it gave too much power to the wraiths, to whom we were for a time greatly indebted. It's a fine boon to take now, I suppose. It'll have impacts for us, but probably only good for you, so depends on how much you care about that." "Ecdysis," the voice from the tree line whispers once again. "It is yours to take or to leave. That is your choice." And a willowy, pale white hand reaches out, holding a sickly white acorn.
Oh, Liam. Can I call you Liam?
Yes.
Are you from here? Like Earth? Like, oh, sorry, I'm picking up a symbiotic link between you two, and I assume that that's how you can be here, Gabby, is because of
Yeah, can't travel alone.
yeah. So. Ah, what the hell? I take the acorn.
You take the acorn, and Gabby digs up right next to the first one and gestures that, like, if you want to accept this boon, this is where you'll plant it. Right on. And you feel these twin boons take hold and wrap around you. You now have the powers of the wild boon for mimesis and the wild boon of ecdysis. And just like the other spells and abilities on your spell list, I will notify you when they are especially relevant to a combat, which is especially important because a large part of a druid's use of spells is how intuitive it is. So, yeah. Regardless, the party is likely beginning to suspect that this couldn't be number one or number two at this point in time. So you unless there's something else you want to do while you're here, anything you want to catch up on with Gabby, you want to jump into the woods and just like see if you can catch a glimpse of this weird pale dude, any of that is totally an option for you, or you can head back out.
I think I will thank Gabby for visiting, and then take my leave and get back to the party.
Right on. She nods to you and begins to sort of saunter goat-like back into the line of trees behind which Liam waits. There is one last way that a member of our party could have sensed something. That whisper traveled for a reason, and it is the whisper carried in wild speech. The same kind of force that you use to discuss with animals, that they intrinsically understand what you're saying, even though you're not speaking in a language that they speak, obviously, but you can commune with animals. That same awareness of wild speech means that Keith heard a distant whispering during part of this conversation. Keith, when you hear a distant and wild whispering, what do you think you'd do, considering several factors? First of all, you're not sure how much is in your head right now, because you're trying to figure out where your symptoms begin and end, as the skulking end lays its claim on you. Second of all, could be a trap, but that's less of a factor, I would guess, for Keith, because his predator druid nature has not given him an instinct for self-preservation as much as it has given him an instinct for the ending of other things.
Right.
Yeah, so with those things in mind, how do you think Keith responds to this whispering?
And is this coming from the direction of Alberth?
Yes.
I would most likely walk towards it, at least. Less because I know he's doing his own thing. I'm not about to go and destroy his privacy, as he hasn't made it obvious that I should be along with him. But I'm not going to just leave, a member of my party just out in the woods while I'm hearing this whispering, basically. So I'm going to walk towards it as sneakily as I can.
Right on. Roll me a stealth check as you're sneaking away from the party.
That's a cool 5.
I I would say that Keith has like a +6 or something monumental to this, but even despite that, that's a pretty bad roll. You are noticed by the ever keen-eyed Abelka Ashad, who it is about to call out to you and then thinks, well, he's sneaking away from the party. I don't want to give him away. And so then Abelka Ashad attempts to sneak up to you to get your attention so that he doesn't grab the attention of the whole party. He's trying. He's going to do his best, but he's an 8-foot-tall person with a halo. So let's just make a quick roll for Abelka Ashad's stealth. A 2. Yasuka immediately... Yasuka is the large paladin with you. She's an inheritor... Not literally a paladin. I should stop using that as a crutch. She's the large inheritor with you in the not gilded, but polished silver armor with the crest hanging from her chest plate. And as soon as Abelka Ashad starts to walk out towards you, Yasuka goes... Hey, Abel, hey, Keith, why are you guys sneaking away? And she, like, waves you back with one large armored hand.
Okay, I have an assumption. I'm assuming Angel Man is a lot less predator than Paladin Lady.
Yes, like you're using your knowledge of the predator-prey duality to analyze that. Yes, definitely.
I'm considering if this would be a good time to use my magical spell and to make Paladin angrier at Angel and him be more afraid of that so they get caught up in their own business so I can sneak off.
Right on. So are you going to cast Compel Oh, I'm sorry. While Alberth has the ability granted by his symbiotic druid powers to cast this on a large group, you can cast it on one. You could always cast it on Yasuka and hope she targets Abelka Ashad.
It's worth it. It's worth the try.
Right on. You cast it. I'm not going to roll for it. Yasuka likes Abelka Ashad, and she has no particular feeling towards you. She charges you in full armor. You could outrun this woman very easily, but she is now extremely determined without really knowing why, because you have compelled her to go for the throat. So she is now charging at you, getting ready to tackle you to the ground.
Yeah, as soon as she does this, I surrender. I let her verbally tell her, nope, I get it. I'm coming back now. You've won. I'm going with you.
She seems to visually acknowledge this, and she seems surprised that she is still running at full speed. And mid-dive tackle, she actually says out loud, "No, wait." And then she slams you into the ground with the full force of I'm going to say maybe 220 pounds of she's 6 foot. 280 pounds of person and armor slam you into the soft dirt.
This gamble did not work out for me.
She punches you several times saying, "I'm sorry, wait," before she shakes out of it and then stands up. She goes, "Oh, I need psychic training. Elway, you need to teach me." And Elway, Yasuka's prisoner, by the way, goes, what do I get? And Yasuka just shoots her a stern glare. Pater Ullman says, "No one asks me for psychic teaching." And Yasuka goes, "Wait, what?" And he goes, "Doesn't matter."
Well, I'm going to take my beaten butt back to the caravan, and I'm going to go hang out, I guess.
Right on. Alberth shows up to a very bruised Keith and a very concerned-seeming Yasuka. There was the sound of pots and pans clanging together right before you emerged from the woodland, the forest tree line. So that was weird. Immediately, Elway locks eyes with you and points "I know something happened. I know." No one else seems to notice. Yeah.
Oh.
Do you say anything
Cool
to
story,
her?
bro. No, I say nothing.
Right on.
I give a wink.
She goes. And you guys Reconvene. Vizier Kama says, all right, well, that was a weirdly long piss, but we don't need to talk about it. Uh, hey, you two hunters. You're the druid and his friend, right? You're hunters. I mean, I know your names. I'm just expressing why I think of you as the two hunters. Alberth and Keith. You think you could track this thing? What was it, a manticore? Chimera? What did he say?
Oh, yeah, we
right.
can do that.
Yeah, we could do that.
Right on. Sweet. Well, this is the general area. We're only about a quarter mile out from where the last sighting was. It's a stone's throw, just the edge of that village. And looking over, it's generous to call the nearby the nearby settlement or like collection of shoddily built yurts a village, but apparently that's what you're going with. She says, right. So what are we looking for? Tracks? Magic blood caves where it could live? I don't know anything about a chimera. You guys know very little about a chimera, except that it has the attributes of a lion, a goat, and a snake. And so you know things about lions, goats, and snakes. They all definitely need water of some kind, and you would need like food that they could all eat. And you could find something that a goat will eat pretty much anywhere. But the fact that it has one head of a lion suggests that it'll probably be hunting larger prey nearby, and the fact that it has a tail that's a snake, maybe they all share one digestive tract. You've heard of these things, but you're not exactly experts. So tracking and then looking for things that one of those three heads would be likely to eat is probably your best approach at it right now.
Boop. Sounds good. I will psychically link, or I guess not psychically, but symbiotically link with Keith.
Right on.
And our conversation about do they breathe fire or not gets laid to rest as we become of one mind and both decide, yes, there's fire.
Question, do I have any say in the symbiotic link, or does it just happen to me?
You do have to, like, let it happen. If you reject it, then it doesn't happen.
And it only works if somebody else is a druid, or just if he has a close
relationship? No, he can symbiotically link with anyone.
Okay.
Yeah. But if you symbiotically link Keith, you immediately notice that something about Alberth's druid powers has changed. It has mutated in some way, if you will.
I'm going to give him a look that he knows that I know, and then we're going to talk about it later.
Oh, you don't need to give him a look. He knows that you know. I know, you know, that I'm not telling the truth. That was a reference. I'm not.
Don't have any
CD.
Learn how to bet. Worst in psych you out of me.
That was good.
Good stuff.
That was good.
Alberth and Keith are both jamming simultaneously. No. Right on.
I'm probably going to mention the fact that we're good at like tracking it down, but we might need more hands to take down a chimera, right?
Oh, absolutely. She's asking me to point you in the direction everyone's going.
Got it.
And it's not exactly a caravan right now because you're not with the wagons or the horses. It's just a traveling party. Pater Ullman is with you instead of with Rez Kalen for some reason. You're not really sure if he would be more use there, but it seems like he's in more danger here. Either way. Yeah, if you guys each, you're trying to track this chimera, so if you each roll a 20-sided die, and since you're symbiotically linked, I'm going to say take whichever one's higher, and if the lower one is over 10, then, doesn't matter. My goodness. A 1 and a 10 means that you guys are having some trouble tracking this thing, but Abukah Shad throws his hand in the ring and offers to, he doesn't really know how to identify tracks, but he says, hey, if you guys give me some pointers, I got that super eyesight, and I can see really far, and I'm also really tall, so I can just kind of survey the area. You just let me know what I'm looking for. And you guys explain, to your best knowledge, what a chimera's tracks would look like. And I'm going to say he doesn't get a roll. He's just gonna use his skills to let you guys re-roll it. But if you mess this one up, then someone else is gonna have to take the reins, or you might just not be able to find this thing. Right on. Yeah, we don't need miles. So, with an 18, your skilled pair of druids managed to lock onto this thing's trails, and after following it for maybe 1.5 miles, you guys finally get to the point where the tracks are fresh enough that the whole party kind of has to start traveling lower profile. You might be approaching its lair, or at least the place that it's moved to most recently. Looking over a small ridge and down this escarpment, there's this big area looking out from this ridge that from the outside it wouldn't have been recognizable, but looking down you see a bunch of really old ruined buildings. The ruins of, there were several kingdoms were in this area before the current one that you all belong to. I guess Merigold is from Venel, but civilizations have risen and fallen in this area of the continent quite frequently, and so it's not out of the ordinary it's not crazy to find ruined buildings, but it's not exactly common. It's not like a place that was built on ruins. These ruins are of a special interest to one of you because the runes marking each archway, and there are no doorways, only sweeping archways. The runes are dwarven in nature. The dwarves use these runes to show where this doorway, or where this archway led to, and they would usually have a set of 3. Like if you turn left coming out from this archway, it'll take you here, and straight it'll take you here, right it'll take you here. And there were always archways instead of doorways for a couple of reasons. First of all, the dwarves tended to live underground, and sealing off each area meant that heat couldn't travel through as easily, and it was very important to keep all the airways open. And secondly, it was so that wagons of supplies could be brought around in these sort of mega structures that they would create. Rarely did they rise above the earth, but the fact that there are all these ruins with dwarven markings means almost certainly that there is a large cave system underneath these ruins that was once a dwarven settlement long ago. So coming over this looking down this escarpment into this area, it's this big sunken area with all of these archways. And in the distance, you can see there are several other ridges that come over this, almost like this whole place is a slightly depressed crater. And sure enough, inside it, you see not one but 2 hulking figures that look like they're just beginning to circle around one another. One of them is an enormous beast, 6-legged, with, sure enough, the head of a lion, a second head, not really coming out left and right. The second head is coming out the back of its neck. It looks very unnatural, but it is a giant goat's head with wicked curling horns. And its snake is indeed a tail, or its tail is indeed a snake, which is curving around and seems to be creating a sort of attack. I don't know. It looks like it's working in unison with these other 2 heads that are getting ready, as this enormous beast, maybe 16 feet in length, is circling around a far more horrifying figure. This is a figure that you've only seen denoted in imagery, and ancient imagery at that. It seems to be a plain black pillar, covered all around in a 360-degree billowing cloak. It's emanating smoke out from under this fabric-like thing, and occasionally limbs of various types and lengths reach out from slips underneath this cloak as this thing slides and glides around this chimera. It reaches out a crooked, thin arm with claws, and then puts it back in, and then a wicked tentacle that seems to be holding an axe made of this same shadowy substance. And then a second that's just a rocky fist. All of these limbs keep creeping out and then sliding back in. This is how you've seen demons depicted on the rare instance when they are allowed into the mortal plane without being forced to take on a human form. This is way above your pay grade right away. These things killed nations. But it seems to be not closing in for the kill yet as it's circling around this Chimera. Everyone roll me perception checks, because there are a lot of details about your immediate surroundings that would be good to know.
Dude, I'm dying here tonight. Holy cow.
So Keith rolled a 4, but Keith, knowing what he does about dwarves, which is just far more than most, still recognizes something that others don't about the ruins. There is, in one of the only areas where more than a single story is actually like still standing, a sealed room that has like gates across each of the archways. You can't see inside, but the symbols marking it, Keith recognizes as denoting a storeroom. So there are likely like trade goods or just spare like rocks or rare earths up there. There's a lot of heavy stuff in there that if you were to cause that room to collapse when something is under it, that could do some good, but in that, getting it to collapse in and of itself, it would be a challenge. And second of all, there might be something valuable in there, maybe even something that would help with the maintenance or creation of new Tiefschall weapons. It's a long shot, but there's a chance. And that's in that storeroom up there. Alberth notices something as well. With a 9, because they're not particularly well hidden. You are not the only humans here. There is another smaller party of 4 men who look very similar. They all have very dark, curly, kind of oily-looking hair, and they're all wearing very similar garb. That's all like chainmail with like shirts put over it that are all carrying this same, or that are all marked with the same color and no crest. But the color is a very like burnt brownish orange. Yeah, they're all carrying different types of weaponry, and they seem to be waiting for something, getting ready to like jump over this. Maybe they're here to kill the Chimera. Maybe it doesn't seem like they're well equipped to fight a demon, but who knows? Yeah. Sam, you want to give me a roll for Merigold as well to see what Merigold sees?
Yes.
Right on.
Ooh,
with a 19,
good.
Merigold notices the last 2 things that you could see. The first is the shadowy figure that Keith had described, not in this escarpment in front of you, but coming up from behind you. Not close yet, still maybe 100 yards out, but the shadowy figure does not realize that you have recognized it.
okay.
The last is the most frightening. Another figure peeking out from an opposite escarpment. You see a stony mask that you have seen before. It is the mask of one of the casters who is hunting you. They have found you at last. There's too much happening in this clearing. There's these dwarven ruins, there's a Chimera fighting a demon, there's a party that you don't know about, and a party that wants to kill you, that you're not sure if they recognize that you found them, and there's also the shadowy figure that's been stalking Keith is still stalking you, and it's creeping up behind you. So...
Ruh-roh, Raggy.
Excellent perception checks. It's time to decide what happens next. Oh, that kind of rhymed. Anyways, and then I ruined it by acknowledging it. So, several options. A, you could wait and see who acts first, and use that action to inform what you will do. B, you could try and position yourself strategically so that the two groups that you're most immediately threatened by, you could position yourself so that the hunters would have to cross through the very dangerous demon chimera combination to get to you. That could be a good way to deter them. You could try and get in there and kill the chimera, the thing you need to do before you leave, as kind of an Ender's Game objective rush, because if you get that done, you can get out of there. You can straight up leave and just assume that one of these moving parts will kill the chimera for you, and just report to the Baron that the job is done, but there's no guarantee that he would believe you without the 3 heads of this thing, which would be the traditional way to indicate that you've killed a chimera, is to bring the 3 heads. Or its pelt. That could work. You could try and get the attention of the group of 4 and see if they're as much a threat to you as all the other moving factors are, so you could get a better sit rep, but that would probably notify every other group to your presence. How do you guys want to handle this? Or any combination of those ideas, or if you have some ideas of yourself. Things I will note, your compulsion spells are in range for basically everything here. So if you want to compel adrenaline or indiscretion on anything in this whole area, you can do it, with the exception of the shadowy figure, not close enough to you yet.
What about the demon? Can I cast indiscretion on the demon?
You can definitely try. Merigold has no idea what happens if you do that. You could
so he's going to try it.
Right on.
Yeah.
All right, is that how we're starting? Merigold casts
I do have
indiscretion.
one additional question.
Oh, yes.
If symbiotically linked, can Alberth cast my spell to a group?
Yes. Yes, he can.
All right, I'm ready
Remind
to
me
proceed.
what's the
Merigold.
difference with... Because I know I have a similar one that just acts on more people but is weaker. Is that kind of how it works? Or...
Yes, I think
no,
Keats is very strong. Like, but single target, yeah. But I'm going to say when you combined, either of you can use the area of effect with full intensity.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm down to see whatever Merigold's up to over there, casting spells on demons and stuff, so...
Right on.
I'm not going to touch that one. I'm going to see how that one plays
Are you
out.
going to develop the plan further from here, or are you going to do that and then reanalyze once you see what happens there?
I do think that keeping the hunter group opposite the battlefield of us is generally a good plan.
Right on.
As well.
I should mention, you can do this one action at a time and then see what happens and then choose the next action. Or, if you'd like to do it XCOM 2 style, where everyone sets up Overwatch and then one person takes the shot and it causes a chain reaction so that you all act at once, you can do that instead if you want to throw a bunch of wrenches into the work before anyone else can act. Either way
We should
works.
probably slightly, at least like a little bit, move towards that store, because there might be something that's worth... You know, I know that dwarves had something to do with like smithing. I'm assuming they have like... does this look like any place that would have any kind of dwarven smith in the entire area? Would this have anything to do in that storeroom with any kind of like combustion, fire, explosions, etc.?
Dwarves didn't really have villages or like small settlements. They tended to have enormous, primarily underground citadels. So, and any village of a certain size, whether it be human or dwarven or giant, they're going to require a smith if they want any metallic goods. So, you would assume that only a very small portion of this dwarven fortress is above ground. And given the size of the ruins that are above ground, you would assume that this is a large enough citadel or like stronghold to require multiple smiths and multiple forges. What state those forges are in is the real mitigating factor here. You have no idea what you'd be able to find, if it's already been ransacked, because you're only like a mile and a half outside of a village in this place. Like, people have found this place before, even if no, like, major cartographers have found this place.
Yeah,
So-
I think we should generally move over there if possible, but I'm kind of cool to just to see how this goes. I kind of want to see what spells against demons do.
Yeah, that's good, because there's probably no way to communicate to Merigold fast enough to keep the cover low but before this happens. So Merigold casts Compel Indiscretion. Now, we've talked about in the past, some people have a psychic resistance to spells, and we've talked about how the more you use a spell, the better you get at it. But what we haven't done is actually have someone who has a powerful enough psychic defense that you have to roll to see how your spell does. Merigold, give me a roll to see how your spell does against this demon. That's a 6. So the main thing it does is let the demon know exactly where you are and what you're trying to do to it. And this thing whips around. You see a single red eye turn towards you in this black pillar as what appeared to be like the 360-degree cloak flares around it in a dark, like, new moon pattern with the single blazing eye. It reaches out 16 tentacles and begins grabbing random bits of the ruins and pulling itself towards you at eldritch speeds.
Well,
Elway screams and passes out. Yasuka draws her inheritor's blade, an enormous, just absurdly large sword, which she then holds in one hand as she also draws her huge shield. As big as a shield can be without being a tower shield. It's still like the Hyrule shield shape, but it's truly enormous. It's like a riot shield. I guess that would just be a tower shield. Both glow with that cold light that we had discussed earlier, that harsh, unforgiving, pure white sunlight that's almost blue because of it's so dissimilar from firelight or torchlight. It shines so brightly, like that this whole place lights up. And you realize you never asked which of the Solar Crusades Yasuka belonged to. There are 3 active in the world right now. And one of the 3 is the Crusade against Hell's Invasion. That's the crusade to kill all demons who enter worlds other than the Hells. That can be the only explanation for the blinding power emanating from Yasuka's sword and shield. She clicks her faceplate down, sets herself, and full charges like a single.
I'm gonna go ahead and compel that movement.
Ooh. You cast Compel Adrenaline. Are you confident enough that she's acting out of more bravery than fear? Because if she's afraid but putting on a brave face, then this will cause her to panic and flee.
She's not scared.
She can't be scared, right? Right?
No.
Nobody's got that kind of sword and shield and is gonna charge in. That's scary. You gotta be at least a little confident.
Yeah, she's moosing this one. You just gotta...
Send it. Send it.
All right, let me bring up all of my magic system notes for this one. This one's truly gonna be. We're gonna go through a lot of. We're gonna learn a lot about the magic system, everybody.
Sweet.
Right on. Just had to make a note. Yasuka's vision turns red. It's not that you guys can see what's happening inside, but you see the effects of it very quickly. As Yasuka kind of like staggers and like stutter steps through her charge, crouches down and leaps into an arcing strike. She throws her shield to the side, sense of self-preservation completely abandoned, and holds her enormous sword in both hands as she arcs through the sky in a superhuman leap, bringing down the sword overhead like an enormous divine hammer, and slams through this demon, which is peeled backwards as like the cut goes through the fabric of the sort of all over cloak, and it unfolds many-fold, and like the whole thing sprawls backwards. It doesn't seem like it works like physics work. Like it unspools like a spool of fabric, like it's all wrapped around one thing. It unspools, and then all of the fabric seems to puff outwards and then re-solidify at the pillar. And it turns its fiery red eye, and it has one slash through the eye. Like this runic eye symbol that's blazing in this thing, which then whips out a tentacle, grabs Yasuka, and throws her maybe a quarter mile. And then it turns towards the rest of you. Several things may affect what you choose to do next. First of all, it's clearly wounded in some way. Second of all, the team of 4 people have now drawn weapons which you now recognize as being edged with silver blades, arrow tipped with silver heads, and one of the hammer, or rather war axe, tipped with silver as well, and one of them doesn't carry any weapons, but pulls out a small wooden totem, and his eyes glow as he repeats some kind of incantation over it. They are charging the demon, very specifically the demon.
Okay.
The mask, and presumably the other hunters that have been following you, has disappeared behind their side of the escarpment. The Chimera is still on the defensive, like territorial, just looking around like, is anyone going to approach me, though? Like, just self-preservation only, and doesn't seem to be, like, moving in for the kill or anything. Always passed out. Yasuka got yeeted. It will take several minutes for her to sprint back. Her shield, still glowing with a divine white light, sits on the ground, clearly still infused with some kind of power. What else? Things still seems very mad at Merigold. Wants to get at Merigold. Vizier Kama has drawn her rapier, and Pater Ullman is dragging Elway away from the battle. I think that's everyone. You guys have so many strays. There's so many people. Abaka Ashad has fully scaled a tree. He's staying nearby enough that you guys are healing, but he is useless in a fight, so he's just being nearby.
So I think first things first, we should give the shield to Merigold, because
Yes.
he's coming for Merigold. So, like...
Right on?
Okay, we'll take it.
Any other decisions? I can give you a couple pitches. Let's see. Compulsion spells don't seem to be the greatest. Maybe there's something that one of Alberth's new powers can do to it, but you really have no idea what's going to happen. You can cast either of those as spells on yourself, someone you are linked to, or another person, but you don't fully know how any of that will work. It seems like this thing has like an outer layer. Maybe your weird ectasis, like cursed lizard insect spell would like cause it to shed that. But again, your spells are mostly good at helping people who help you. Like, they're mostly good at cooperation. So you have no idea how you would use, like, mimesis or ectasis in a combat-oriented way. But if there's a time to find out, it's now.
Yep.
Keith's instinct is to go for the throat, but he doesn't really know where the throat is, but there's the eye. He could stab it in the eye with one of his dwarf swords. It's the best option that comes to mind right now. There seems to be something about silver. Those people charging in have silver-tipped blades and weapons, and Yasuko wears pretty much completely silver. There isn't any silver in the compound that makes up Tiefstahl, like metallurgically. Silver isn't in there, so you're not sure if silver is like a requirement or if it's extra good. Alka Ashad is shouting from the tree, like, wait, I think I know things about this thing. I can help you. Come closer. I can talk to you. Alberth, do the... He like doesn't want to give away your secrets, but he's also symbiotically linked with you in the past and been able to share information like that when you traveled together previously. So he's like, Alberth, you can Ichor, throw the Ichor at it maybe. I actually don't know. Maybe don't do that. I never tried it.
Can you be symbiotically linked with more than one person?
No.
Okay. Well, I think definitely for my like action. First of all, if I'm the closest, I want to go grab the shield and just huck it at Merigold.
Right on, sweet. You scramble over and slide it like up the soft grassy surface.
Yeah. And then, I will let the link go from Keith, and I will link with Ashad.
Right on. You feel yourself grow less capable in this combat, and immediately fear washes over you because you're no longer part Keith. You no longer see this as like a weird hunting opportunity. Now it's like, oh, that's a demon that eats worlds or something. Wild. I don't want that at all.
Does this mean we're healing twice as fast?
What? Does what?
Does Alberth get healing because he's symbiotically linked? Can he radiate healing?
Oh, it doesn't seem to be stronger now that Alberth has linked across.
Fair enough.
Nor do you gain the benefit of increased eyesight. You're not sure how much of this is like biologically about angels and how much of it is like magic system that can carry across well. You're even not sure. The only casters that you've really like symbiotically linked with have been other druids. So you're not sure how well other spells actually carry across the symbiotic link, or if it's just very effective for using druid spells. But you do feel your mind quicken a little bit as you symbiotically link with Ashad, and you also gain his instinct for what to do in the situation. Several things. First of all, silver hurts him, and you learn through this brief connection, there's a similar metal that would damage Ashad, and then you think, wait, is there a metal that would work for each of the 8 types of Otherworlders? And you sense like a kind of confirmation about that. That Ashad knows that there's a special metal to hurt every kind of outsider, but you don't know... But he doesn't know which metals they all are. And then you think, wait, can it hurt casters too? And you sense, yes, if they're powerful enough. And you didn't know that, but you have to stop thinking about it because you're in a combat situation and it's not directly applicable. But you really quick, you go through all of Ashad, like the new instincts that you have, they must be based at some kind of knowledge that he has, even though he's not literally saying things to you. Demons and warlocks and other practitioners of chthonic power. Oh, that's weird. You didn't know it was called chthonic power, but you know that now. Their bane metal is silver. Their bane aura is salt. They're blinded by salt. If you are covered in salt, they can't sense you. If you throw salt at them, they're blinded. If you stab them with salt, it does extra damage, just as if it was their bane metal. Their boundaries are running water. They can't cross a stream or a brook or a river. Even if you splash water, it'll temporarily act as a boundary for them. You can also create a boundary by closing a shape with the bane aura, so you could draw a circle of salt around it and it wouldn't be able to escape it. That's a lot of information, and you don't know how to use any of it because you don't carry buckets of salt with you. Through all of that, you also feel like Ashad thinks that you should use the Ichor, but also has no idea if that'll work. It just kind of seems like it does, and he's panicking. Those are all the impressions you get from Ashad.
Sweet.
Right on.
Yeah, I will take out one of the Ichors. Sorry, I've been doing a lot of actions. I will go to do that.
Right on.
While somebody else does things.
Sweet. Keith, while all this is happening, your link to Alberth is severed, and you feel yourself fall back into the tunnel vision mentality of a predator that sees a creature it's never seen before, 2 creatures it's never seen before, and wants their blood. What do you do?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to hit him with a sword.
Right on. Sweet. Drawing his twin fangs, Keith leaps out towards the demon. Go ahead and roll me a d20.
Just one, or?
Make it 2. Yeah, one for each sword. Making 2 attacks.
Well, thank goodness I specified.
Right on. One of them misses because the demon is just like too shifty, and it seems like it's cutting through the cloak, and then the cloak that seems to be whipping like fabric just completely deflects it, but the other sword drives true into the spot where it's like sort of eye sigil is, and it feels like it's hitting steel, and surprise, you look at it and then pound it in like you're hammering a nail into place, and it cracks through whatever thing it is, and the demon squeals and wraps 2 tentacles around your head. It's gonna try and snap your neck. So also roll me a defensive roll to prevent it from doing that.
So I just rolled an 11.
Uh-huh.
I thought that was a 1 when I first glanced at it. I was like, oh, I guess I'm dead.
It's you actually managed to stick the blade in between its tentacles because it needs to like cross them again to like twist your neck. So it like turns you, but the blade stops it as you're being held in these 2 like stony black tentacles. And then it like realizes that it can't just kill you in one hit right now. It's gonna have to deal with it, and so it just throws you up into the air to make you a non-issue for a little while. And you hurtle maybe 60 feet into the air. Meanwhile, Merigold, the shield has been kicked back to you, and after this thing tries to snap Keith's neck, it is now pulling itself across the grass once again, and it's reaching out one taloned hand just from the center of like its chest kind of area, just reaching it out towards your face. What do you
Far away is it from me?
Like 30 feet. It's still a long ways, but the arm is unnaturally long. So it'll only have to cross like half to 2/3 this distance. Yeah.
People that are hunting us.
They're closing in, but they're still a ways away. You'll have to take some kind of action to defend yourself before they get to it to be able to help you.
Oh, I meant the people that are trying to kill us.
Oh, they've disappeared from sight. If they're approaching you, it's not through the direct path. They must be sneaking around one way or the other.
Can I sense their presence using that thing that I equipped earlier?
No, they are too far. Is that the? But I should ask. Is that the ward that you still have active?
Probably, if this is happening, I should do a kinetic ward right now. Is what I'm thinking.
Right on.
But yeah, okay. I'm just gonna brace then and try and block the talon with my shield.
Sweet. Go ahead and make a roll for it. It begins to reach over the shield, and you try and push it, but it's weirdly stable for something that's extended a full 10 feet past its sort of like base, and you're holding the shield as it is like crawling over the shield to grab you. What?
Do I have any weapons at all? Do I have anything?
You still have the rapier.
Oh, okay. So I'm gonna try and do that thing where it's like Iron Man in Infinity War, where he's like holding the shield and then you like move around it and then try to chop at the extended arm or whatever.
Right on. Go ahead and make that
Roll.
roll. Yep. You chop at it, but it's surprisingly like solid. And Vizier Kama sees what you're trying to do and then jumps over, and not using her rapier or her glaive or anything, just seeing that this arm is really extended, she just kind of tries to pile drive like through the middle of it, and it drives the shield into the ground, and you have to like kneel to hold on to the shield, but she pile drives it so that it snaps like a really long branch that's reached over, and the demon like howls in several octaves at once and like withdraws its broken claw into itself. You're not sure if it has like a limited amount of limbs, but that also seemed to damage it, so that's good. Two things happen next. The party of 4 has gotten to the demon, and the fastest one, first an arrow comes whistling through the air, and the demon's eye splits so that it has a second eye looking at them, and one of its tentacles whips around the arrow and holds it. but feeling it, there's too much silver in the arrow, and it burns its tentacle, and it has to like throw it out. And just after that, the one with the axe comes in, drives down, and fully cuts off the tentacle, which turns into obsidian-like glassish stone as soon as it is severed and falls down and shatters. And the one shouts back, the one with the axe shouts back, "One down!" So apparently it's a permanent thing. Apparently it's good. The next thing that happens is a single figure is hurtling across the sky. You guys don't see, or Merigold and Alberth, you guys don't see how it happens, but having been launched into the sky, Keith looks down and, like, still before you've reached the apex of your launch, you see the hunters, like the people who've been following you, and the claw is holding his giant lobster claw has pinched around the very solid chest plate of the duelist, who's the very like agile woman with two rapiers, and he chucks her into the air, and she is arcing towards the sky to collide with you mid-air, holding two rapiers. It's the most ridiculous and over-the-top thing you've ever seen, and it couldn't possibly end well for anyone. So you were pretty sure you were going to die when you got launched, and now she's voluntarily coming to this height in the sky. You are obsessed with getting the kill, and you can't understand why a person would do this unless she had some way to land safely. Which makes you think, maybe if you, like, intertwine with her, like if you grab her mid-jump, then somehow you won't die from this tremendous fall. It's your best option right now. Or you could kill her and then hope that someone or something, like, catches you before you make hard contact with the ruins below.
I'm like deadly high, is what you're saying. Like, no way I'm living for sure, right?
Yes.
All right, yeah. If I can, I'm gonna try and just parry and like hug as tight as I can, like shoving my arm through clothing if I can, whatever necessary. If the parry can instead be like chop off the hands easily, then great. Otherwise, I'll take deflection and safety.
Right on. Yeah, roll me roll me 2 checks, one to parry and then one to grab. They are independent checks. You could succeed at one and still fail at the other.
All right, first for the parry.
Okay, she stabs you straight through the shoulder. And then
for the
with a 20, you wrap around her at like you're holding like a large football. And she goes, "What?" And you both begin to plummet towards the ground. And in the distance, you hear that flute player. I accidentally did the ESPN theme. Doesn't matter. He does not play the ESPN theme or anything else that's copyrighted. You know what? No, I refuse. I'm bringing up my own thing. NoFlight.com. Bring me the...
Is the DM about to pull out a flute?
He plays a class... I don't own a flute, Miles. I own a subscription to music writing software. He plays an ancient ballad called Nafri Ager. Oh my goodness, I have to share my screen for this. Why didn't I add all these technical... Get ready to see all the sheet music. This can be copied now. He's playing this, but on the flute. Plays his own duet. He's playing...
My man's talented!
It's a magic flute. In retrospect, this is just a little bit anticlimactic. Very good. And then the DM stopped sharing his screen. Because people are going to make fun of him for what's bookmarked. Yeah, I still play Pathfinder. Hey, and you gave a weird look. What do you think I have permanently bookmarked? Doesn't matter.
No, I was making a mental note because I wasn't even paying attention, but now I will go back and see all of the things you have bookmarked.
Yeah. What was I even talking about?
Somebody said Leviosa, not Leviosa.
Wait, someone said... Are you in our chat right now?
No, I'm saying the flute player. I'm guessing he's making me levitate, yeah?
Yes. Well, actually, he's not making you levitate at all. He's making her levitate, which is only working like a third as much because there's so much extra weight now. And he begins frantically playing the flute, and you are having to hold yourself up, and she's like trying to stab you while you're like gliding down like you're Link carrying like a chicken and using it to prevent his weight from crushing himself.
So she has two swords, yeah?
Yeah, but you have wrapped yourself around her, and both her arms are like pinned at her sides as you're riding her, as you're like skating down the air.
Can I just pin her with my legs and then just stab her with my hands?
That's extremely dark. Yeah, go ahead and roll to wrestle up, flip the grip, and then just stab her repeatedly as you ride her corpse down to the ground, Miles. I gotta stop bringing my head away from the microphone. I've had to mess with
I rolled 12 for, I guess adjusting the grip is first action?
Yes, you managed to do it without plummeting to the ground. I'm not cruel, so I didn't make it that you had to roll too high, but there's always a significant chance if you're doing something like this. You flip over, get ready to stab her, but you brush against a tree as you're like gliding down, and the flute player just fully stops playing. You both plummet, and she like grabs a tree branch, and you grab a tree branch, and you swing to opposite trees.
But I still have her sword on my shoulder, right?
No, she had pulled it out. It's not permanently in your shoulder.
Dang it! I've got one extra weapon than her.
Yeah. Yeah. So she deftly flips down from that and like brushes herself off. Like, what was that about? But the three are now moving over the ledge, and strangely, the mask, the one with the whip knife, has now pulled out like a small satchel that only Merigold recognizes as a satchel bomb. And looking over at you, and without looking away from your group that's still fighting the demon, he throws the incendiary weapon at the Chimera, and it explodes all over it and starts to burn it. This is weird, because you're here to kill the Chimera. But then it occurs to you that if he burns the pelts and the heads, you can't prove that you killed the Chimera. Which might mean that the Baron could take some kind of legal action against you and definitely wouldn't have to give you his battalion. But a moment later, you realize that doesn't, or that's already you were too far gone. As men with the who are dressed in the colors of Baron Tieflehen march over the escarpment, and the claw turns and seems to be giving them orders. You're not sure how they would have gotten here before you if they tracked it faster than you, but you guys left on foot, so maybe they rode in on horseback. Either way, apparently, 8 of the Baron's baronial guard are now working for the hunters, which is a wild development. And kind of a hat on a hat from a narrative perspective, because there's already so much going on. But this battalion starts marching out over the hill, not towards the Chimera, which is now fleeing, but they are marching towards you guys. Also the demon. The demon has apparently given up on attacking Merigold, but has noticed Abelka Ashad in a tree, and after brushing away many members of your party and members of the 4 people who just came to kill a demon. Apparently, it is now crawling over and has one tentacle wrapped around the tree and is shaking it to try and shake Abelka Ashad out of there. Alberth, you feel his horror as he's shaking in the tree. In fact,
I take out that.
Oh, the Ichor?
Sorry,
Right.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes, that's a great. We'll come back. It's Alberth's turn. You throw some Ichor at him. It's not a high roll, but roll to make sure you land it right.
Okay.
The Ichor shatters to the ground off to the side, and the demon looks at it and flees away from it.
Oh.
Could be good.
Oh.
Could be good news.
Now all we need to do is wrestle it onto the floor.
Huh. Well, Albert's going to look and see that about the only thing that's going to keep us from getting killed by an entire army plus the wizards is if we get them to fight the demon and we get the heck out. So he's going to take out another one of those. Oh, yeah, go for it.
Something creeping senses your thoughts, and the demon turns both of its eyes towards you, now one with a slash through it and one not. They're sort of like askew and looking at you, and without having trained like a psychic barrier in your mind, you feel this demon sense the vague shape of your thoughts, and it projects a voice into your mind. It says, "You wish for me to fight those?" And one of its tentacles gestures towards the caster, as many of its other tentacles are fighting off the other fighters. You know that you can, you know that your party could not face me alone, let alone me and your foes. And so you wish to turn your 2 disadvantages into a net 0. It's very eloquent for a weird being from the hells, but that is what you want. So,
and I say as much. Like, if you're offering, that is the best plan for me personally.
We can discuss a price, and you feel something break off in your mind. It's your symbiotic link to Abelka Ashad, and you are forced, despite your will, to cast it on the demon. Time slows as you enter into a negotiation.
It's a bargain.
Excellent. It says in your mind, there is a price. Do you know the goal of all my kin? As far as you know, it's just like bad times. We've discussed the idea that the 8 planes, the 8 outer worlds or other worlds are each diametrically opposed to another world. The world the hells would be diametrically opposed to Lycia, which means demons are diametrically opposed to angels, hence humanity naming them demons and angels, though those are not the names they chose for themselves. From what you know of Abelka Ashad and his kin, they're genuinely like always looking out for people and want a net positive and are very self-sacrificing. From that, you would conclude that demons are selfish and that they want a net negative, though why anything would exist that just desires, like craves a net negative, it's incongruous to your understanding of the world that's based on evolution and symbiosis. But there's no such thing as a bond that's like a symbiotic bond, but that's bad for everyone involved. There's just something else is bad for it's just you're good at the expense of someone else. You have no idea why something would just harbor purely evil intentions. That seems made up. and like an oversimplification. But that is your understanding of what demons do. So do you say that? Like, you just want bad things to happen? Or do you say something like, they say you want bad things to happen, but surely you must have your own designs? Something like that.
I'll say something like, well, first of all, I'll probably start like, I didn't even know that, well, what do I say? Probably the second one, like, I only know what they've told me, and that sounded a lot like made-up stories to scare children. I don't actually know anything about what you are, what your nature is.
You lie. You know. I seek the great loss of your kind, unwilling or unwitting. And I will give you what you want for a price. Greater evil must come of our agreement. Greater malefaction. Greater suffering. I will give this to you. Spare your friends and kill your enemies at the cost of 3 actions on your behalf. First, you will give your friend Keith the name and location of your patron so that he can hunt his final game. Secondly, you will part ways with Abelka Ashad and never speak with him again. And thirdly, you will find what lurks in the caravan. One of your friends has already sensed it. You will find it and cut out its heart. Have we a deal?
Alberth's going to look at the situation one more time and pray that he sees something that he didn't before. Like some sort of opening or possibility. Does he see anything?
Let's see. It's clear that these 4 came to kill a demon. It's possible that they have the ability to, but one of them is already taken out of the equation, and the others seem to be doing damage, but much more slowly than they're taking damage. You would guess that if all factions at play attacked this thing, like you guys, the party of 4 in Ochre, the hunters and their like the reinforcements that they apparently got from the Baron, and maybe the Chimera, you could probably take this thing together, but otherwise it seems impossible. And as you're thinking, the thing detects your thoughts and says, "Looking for another way out? No, I'm interested. What would your proposal be? How would you disperse evil for me, Alberth?"
As a quick side note, can I try to cast Compel Indiscretion again while they're linked?
Yes. Are you casting it on the demon?
Probably, although if I cast... Yeah, I'm going to cast it on the demon.
Right.
Wait,
I don't know
if
if
you
that's
cast
good.
it on Albert, does it share?
That's what I was wondering. I'm not sure how that would work. Could just cause him to, like, spill his guts or whatever to the demon. I don't know, what should I do? Alright, how about this? I roll a 1. I cast it on Albert.
Fair enough.
And I roll a 2, so I cast it on the demon.
All right. Make a d20 roll to... It's a bad roll. However, this thing's defenses are now split between itself and Alberth because of the symbiotic link. This thing can still resist it, but Alberth is linked to it and can voluntarily fail. You can always accept a psychic effect. Alberth, do you accept the psychic effect?
Definitely.
Right on.
And as I do, it affects me, right?
What? Yes.
Do I
yeah.
also have to spill my beans like at the same time? Yeah.
Yes. What does this demon immediately know about you that you were holding back?
I was gonna say yes and then not do any of it. He probably could have told that already, but I actually like verbalize it out loud and say it, like physically say it.
Nice.
So
Now, forcing this demon to say stuff that he was keeping secret is wild. I know Miles is a fan of this. Hayden and Sam, have you ever speed run a game? Are you familiar with the term sequence break? Because now you get exposition that I was saving for the second campaign that takes place in this world. And you immediately sense from this demon that he doesn't just want evil to happen. He wants the appearance of evil to happen because of an ancient oath that his people, the demons, made with something older than the Nine Worlds. An agreement that meant the more evil they were infamous for causing, the more power the demons would receive. So in reality, he doesn't want bad things to happen. He wants bad things to be attributed to his kind. And sensing that you have sensed this, he immediately breaks the bond between you and closes in to kill Alberth instead of anyone else. And it's 9 o'clock. Unbelievable how many times we've had to extend this. I think it's going to have to be 2 episodes again. One episode that's this, part 2. We'll have to cut back into the middle of a demon fight, and then the episode after that will finish the plot that I wanted to tell, but Sam was like, hey, make everyone say everything in every scene, and we'll just constantly go places we didn't intend to go. And you know what? That's the purpose of emergent AI, and that's why I build this. That's why I build the world before I build the story. That's just in case there's stuff for you to find that I haven't thought of. Thanks for coming, guys. What a great session. What an unpredictable ending. Fantastic. Anything?
Another cliffhanger.
Yeah. Anything you guys want to say before we? Anything you guys want to say to the stream? Anything you guys want to clarify about your characters, the setting, the situation that we're going to cut back into before we cut to next week? I mean, before we stop for next week, which for anyone watching this back through is just going to be like another click. Nothing? Perfect. I've done my job. Thanks for coming, chat. Thanks for hanging off this cliff with us, and we'll see you next week. Thanks for hanging off this cliff with us, and we'll see you next week.